in the religious portions of life, we are taught that you're either for God or not, and you're not in between, right? So you're either a firm believer or you're a firm non-believer, right? Not halfway, not lukewarm, right? That they teach you that in the church, right? So if dude is anti-Jesus, that's his position. Allegedly, something's gonna happen, second coming, whatever the case may be. Dude's gonna ask for forgiveness on the 11th hour and be forgiven, because the New Testament says that, every sin that you ever create in life, as long as you apologize for it right before you walk through the pearly gates, like the worst sinner in the world can just apologize and repent. And that gives me a concern, because truth is that repenting means that you recognize the error of your ways, you stop doing what you're doing, and then you do something different, better, atonement, like Solomon. But that's not the common practice of the Western culture, is that we misbehave Thursday through Sunday, and then Sunday morning, look, Thursday through Sunday night, but then Sunday morning, we go to church and pretend like we're diehard Christians, even though throughout our day, we disrespect the homeless people who are the closest thing to God, because God was homeless. Jesus was homeless. So, that's one of the weirdest things. So while we're hypocritical and judgmental, and we're not supposed to judge, and we're supposed to treat everybody the way we would want to be treated if we were in the same situation as a person that we're treating that way, we have a lot of people that arbitrarily just like to flaunt their religious beliefs, and then they force it upon other people, which I think you're not supposed to do that, because he said go and teach those who want to learn, not force it down the throats of people who could care less. And it's weird. So I think the governor that mocked God is almost like your boy who said the N-word from Seinfeld. It's like they're not going to cancel a governor. A comedian can drop an N-word during a comedy sketch and get canceled, but they're not going to cancel a governor. And I think with the racial bias, we have new levels of racial bias right now, because now we're not just hating people because of the color of their skin, we're now hating people because of their nationality. So I don't think that religion is the biggest thing that we could talk about right now. That's probably why nobody's saying anything about that governor making it, because the religion already took 1,000 strikes when the pastor held everybody hostage for 40 grand. and that wasn't the first pastor that made the church look bad, because you had the other pastor that was indulging himself like Solomon before the repentance, with the private jets and the 7 grand worth of Louis Vuitton clothes and all this other stuff. And that has absolutely nothing to do with the traditional reputation of the Catholic Church with accosting little kids. So, is there anything negative that this governor can say about religion that hasn't been mocked by a comic at some point? I don't think so. Is there anything insulting that this guy can say that hasn't been covered on like the Dave Chappelle show or something like that? I don't think so. Can people start protesting in the streets for that governor? Probably. But you got to remember, there's only so much protesting that we can do, because they just went back to work after the protesting stopped in California. Folks can act ass for a small period of time. Then they got to go make that money and pay their bills. Some of them got to pay their probation officers and stuff like that after they got arrested out there with that stuff, property damage and all that. So, however, today we're supposed to be talking about Uruguay. So if here in the country you think that the country is that rough, you can always look for another country to go to that's a lot cheaper. And today we're going to talk about one that you might actually like. Steven said, yeah, I understand your point, but what I heard was that Trump, or I don't know what political figure, said hopefully the people that RIP in the flood are immigrants. Oh, that's not about God. That's like racial attacks. I didn't hear that. Not because it wasn't said, but because I wasn't looking for it over the last 24 hours. That's dirty. That's some stuff that they would have said about us back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's, I mean, that triggered a laugh. I shouldn't laugh about it, but that's dirty for them to say that they hope. And the flood caused a significant quantity of property damage. I should be covering the flood, but I didn't cover the flood. And the reason why I didn't cover the flood is because after California burned for a month and a half, and then right after that, California was underwater for another 2 weeks, the economy still flourished. So, I mean, the natural disasters that happened in California kind of negatively impact the real estate investment trust that we invest in, but not enough to say that we're going to see a big change or a big dip in our investments. And I typically cover things that negatively impact your money, because while I have no problem with covering everything under the sun, like, for example, some of Diddy's charges got dropped. So after he got convicted for 30+1 years, now he's looking at probably 20. Him and Kelly still going to be in there for the rest of my life. By the time he get out, he ain't dropping no more albums. But, you know, you got to ask yourself, like, if you put yourself in this situation, bro, you kind of got to serve your time. Trump with his 34 convictions, and they let him walk. I mean, there again, we're in a country where people can do really fucked up shit. And the only thing I can say is we haven't heard about any school shootings in 2025. So I think we've improved. I think we've grown a bit historically. Said you waiting for that Diddy album. You want them to do the underground mix where Kelly and Puffy in the prison showers, because there ain't no closets in jail. They tripping. But yeah, so the way things have changed, we not seeing school shootings in 2025. We ain't really hearing kids lynching themselves in, but so we got a little bit of improvement in this country now. That doesn't change the fact that just as I was sitting over here thinking about peace and prosperity, some dude got 154 counts against his own kid. I mean, so the society is screwed. That's a thing. There are a lot of monsters in this country, a lot of them, male and female alike. And that's one of the reasons why the good men that claim to be good men are so protective and controlling over the people that they value, because they don't want the people that they value to get hurt. So they dictate when it is not a good idea to be involved in certain things, and when it is not a good idea to carry yourselves a certain way, to reduce the likelihood that you'll get caught up in the chaos that goes on around here. We know how bad it can get. And the fact is that because we know how bad it could get, we expect, since the guys are going to lay their lives down in protection for these things, that we find the kind of person that's going to follow our lead and let us protect them. Even if they're capable of doing it themselves, take a step back, be the reinforcements, and let the guy lead the way and dictate when is it safe and when it's not safe, and let the guy catch the charge and catch the bullet and get into the fight and this, that, and the third. And, you know, if you've got to bring some cover fire for them, you bring the cover fire. But, you know, the Western women haven't thought about it like that. Western women are like, no, I want to be the first piece to move on a chessboard. And you and I both know that there is no possible way that the queen makes the first move on a chessboard. She's got too many pawns in front of her. So once logic and rationale falls into play, you tend to look past stupidity. And basically, that's what it is. You tend to look past stupidity. When somebody wishes bad on another group of individuals, like they've got a lot of stuff that they're withholding in their own personal lives that doesn't get addressed, and they got their own demons that they got to deal with. So, you know, to make an inappropriate comment like that, I think that's terrible. I think that's really terrible. But let's go ahead and get on to our Uruguay discussion, because we were supposed to be talking about other places that we can go and invest in, because I can tell you guys that I cover a different country every week, and each country that I cover has something different and something similar. And a lot of them, we didn't even know it was this good. So imagine keeping almost every single dollar you earn from your business or investment abroad for the next 10 years, right? No income tax. Imagine that. And it's completely legal. This isn't like, you know, Lil Kim, where they find out and then they catch you. Like, it's legit. That's not some fantasy scenario. It's a reality in Uruguay. And there are actually a lot of countries that are doing this incentive to get foreign income into their country. This small South American country is rolling out the red carpet for foreigners with some incredible financial incentives, including the long-term tax holiday and one of the simplest residency paths anywhere. So on today's show, I'm going to break down exactly how this works and why it might just be the smartest move you could ever make. So let's cut to the chase. You're likely watching this because you're looking for a plan B, right? A place where your money is treated with respect, your family feels safe, and the government isn't constantly dreaming up new ways to take your hard-earned money or deport hard-earned workers. Right? You've probably heard about the usual suspects. It's like Panama, which I haven't covered, Portugal, I covered last week, and maybe even Dubai, that I covered a few months ago. But what if I told you that the country quietly offering one of the most compelling deals for freedom seekers and savvy investors is a place you've almost certainly overlooked? We're talking about a nation so stable, so forward-thinking, and so genuinely welcoming that it's often called the Switzerland of South America. But unlike Switzerland, you don't need a massive fortune to live here. Uruguay isn't just offering a place to set up shop. It's offering a massive strategic advantage. The government has built a system specifically designed to attract people like you and me, entrepreneurs, investors, remote workers, and retirees who want a life of peace and prosperity. The incentives here aren't just small perks. They are life-changing opportunities that can completely reshape your financial future. This isn't some loophole. It's a deliberate government-backed invitation. So stay with me, because the details of what Uruguay is offering is going to blow you away. I'm more than sure of it. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of tax codes and residency papers, you need to understand the foundation of this system that we're built on and why we're going to be talking about Uruguay. I want to give a special shout out to Carl. Carl's back from a long time ago. He said, hi, brother. Just at emergency with my dad and his bedside. He has blood clots. Please pray for my dad, Malcolm. Just say hi, my brother, and God bless you. Talk to you later. Love you, man. Well, with all the blessings that can be passed on to Carl's father, Malcolm, let's hope that his dad gets a speedy recovery and pray that things work out for the best. We all understand, Carl. We really appreciate you for coming in, and know that we're here thinking about you in heart and spirit. And then as soon as you find out about what's going on, bro, please take some time to tiptoe back in and let us know that your dad's doing good. He's back stable again, and that he has at least been put into the recovery room. But I really appreciate you, Carl, for coming in and letting us know that, you know, things are getting a little bit rocky with your family right now. So everybody keep Carl Broughton's father, Malcolm, in your prayers, and hope that he pulls through. I know how it is when my mom passed away for similar reasons. But I mean, she had like blood clots, stroke, heart attack, pulmonary embolism, total organ failure, all in a 90-day period. So being there when it happens, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. The only thing that I can tell you is to stay strong. There isn't an easy way to get through it. But after doing it for a while, you get used to it. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But each time you have to go through something like that with a family member that is slowly passing away, it bothers you a little less. Almost like the police killing people in the streets, just it bothers them a little less. Now, what makes this small country of Uruguay, just over 3 million people, so special? Which is pretty small, because America's got 365 million people and Uruguay has only 3 million people. We've got more illegal immigrants in our country than the population of Uruguay. Think about that, as we can't find a plane ticket because all the planes are one way to Mexico. Now, the answer comes down to a word you almost never hear associated with Latin America: stability. So maybe they should run off to Uruguay instead of coming to America. But for decades, Uruguay has been a beacon of democracy, social progress, and economic predictability in a region often known for its volatility. So it consistently ranks first in Latin America on key metrics like the Democracy Index, Rule of Law, and Low Corruption Index, which you're never going to see America in the top 10 on any of those lists. If I remember correctly, last time we looked at these index, America was like 135 or something like that. We were at the bottom of the stack. We're considered the greatest by popular opinion, but statistically, the furthest thing from greatness. It's like Al Bundy, 4 touchdowns in a single game. Like, that's all we got to go for. But in a world that feels more chaotic by the day, Uruguay is a calm harbor. And this isn't some historical ancient accident. It's the result of culture that deeply values the rules of law, respect for institutions, and a strong social construct, which, ironically, there are countries where you can leave your cell phone outside overnight and it still be there. You can leave your wallet on the table and walk away, and your money will still be in your wallet, and your wallet will still be on the table. There are countries where you could put your purse down and leave your purse unattended, and nobody will even sit at the table where your purse is located at. But in America, you leave your iPhone at the drink machine while you getting your ticket and your iPhone is gone. You leave your phone on top of the car while you tying your shoes, and your car and your phone is gone. Like, gotta really think about where we at right now. Michael says total of 196 nations in the world. I'm not sure what's the difference between a nation and a country, but I counted over 200 countries thus far. I haven't covered 200 countries, but I have counted over 200 countries. So I'm not sure if 4 of them are not nations, but they are countries, or if there's more than one country in a nation. But that's a good number to see, not 196. It's really close to the number that I got. I can't name all 200 countries, though, and I also can't name all of the nations. So I couldn't tell you which countries are nations and which nations are countries. Can't be a nation if you don't have a flag. Oh, see? So 196 nations, more than 196 countries. Not too sure how many countries I've covered that don't have a flag, though. I know that you have to have a certain military power to be considered a state, and then you have to have a certain level of self-sustainability to be considered a country. So nation, you have to have a flag. So nationalism, symbolism. Okay, so picked up on something. So even though I do a lot of research outside of the show, I can actually learn something from you guys inside of the show. That's actually pretty good. The government of Uruguay, though, is stable. Property rights are fiercely protected, and there's a real sense of safety and order in daily life. Now, people can call it the Switzerland of South America, not just for its old reputation for banking secrecy, but for its modern day role as a reliable, high quality, and a neutral place to be. So this is going to be one of those countries that is not typically pissed off at America. So if you got a US passport, you can tiptoe over to Uruguay. It's a country where things just work. The infrastructure is solid, and internet speeds are fantastic, with 81% of broadband connections being fiber to the home systems, which is something that T-Mobile is just starting to do off the East Coast of America. So Uruguay is ahead of the curve. The healthcare system is truly world-class, and this is the bedrock where the country itself is a high-value asset before you even start looking at financial perks. On a cultural level, Uruguayans are known for being warm, educated, and welcoming. There's a relaxed, unpretentiousness vibe. And whether you're in the sophisticated capital of Montevideo, the glamorous beach town of Punta del Este, or the rolling hills of the countryside, it's society that mixes its European heritage with a unique Latin American identity, creating a rich cultural fabric. So family is important here, and there's a strong sense of community that makes it easier for foreigners to fit in and feel at home. He said, become self-taught. All right. Well, most people need to become self-taught. Really and truly, if you remember back in the 30s, 40s, minorities were self-taught because we weren't allowed to go to school. before the before the Civil War. So not only were they self-taught, some of them would come and teach each other when the slave owners wasn't paying attention. So you wasn't supposed to know how to read, write, and spell, and you wasn't supposed to give it away that you knew how to read, write, and spell. But some actually knew how to read, write, and spell before that was a thing that everybody was supposed to be able to learn. We have gotten lazy as a people over the past 50 years, 60 years, 75 years. And now we utilize school as a babysitter instead of as an educational facility, making it harder for teachers to teach the kids, because instead of the kids going there with the desire to learn, the kids are dropped off there just so that they have somebody to watch until their parents get home. And then you have the rebellious kids, the rambunctious kids, the ones that are acting up because they're not there because they want to be there. They're there because they have to be there. And then they distract the teacher and the other kids in the class from the ability to learn, which deprives kids who want to be there from actually gaining a higher level of education. So, instead of waiting until the teacher provides you with the information in class, it's better for you to pick up as much information as you can before class, so that when you get to class, all you have are questions based on the information you've already covered, which makes it easier for your teacher to teach you, because your teacher can start from where they know you don't know, instead of the teacher trying to figure out what you don't know and trying to provide you with that information. So definitely, it's always a good idea to be self-taught. So if you haven't thought about it before, since Michael brought it up, was that autodidacts? Become one. Moving on. In Uruguay, the mix of safety, stability, and quality of life is the why people go to Uruguay. It's the reason these incentives aren't just a gimmick. They are a strategic move by a confident, well-run country to attract talented people. So Uruguay isn't desperate, it's selective. It has built a fantastic place to live and is now inviting the world's producers and investors to come share in its success on some incredibly good terms. Now, this is the context you need to grasp to obtain the true power of the incentives we're about to cover. First thing we're going to talk about is the unbelievable incentives that is the core of Uruguay's offer, the part that makes financial experts and future expats really pay attention to this country. The government has intentionally created a package of benefits so good that it creates a life-changing financial opportunity for those who've qualified. So let's look at them one by one. He said, in the beginning of time, knowledge was passed from word of mouth. With the invention of writing, memory has declined. So right after the heavens and the earth, and a little ways after there shall be light, there was created dialogue. Dialogue occurred before dictation. Dictation came after dialogue, which led to historical records. So you learn from listening, watching, and doing. Then down the line, somebody started thinking, hey, if we write this down, I don't have to say as much stuff. I can just hand this pamphlet to somebody else. And somewhere along the lines, somebody else said, hey, maybe we could write down the first 10 rules of society on this rock, and then everybody will know how to behave. And that is the bootleg version of the Bible. But no, truth. He is making a good point. Knowledge used to be passed down from person to person. Everything that you needed to know, you had a plethora of elders that would tell the youngins all the stuff that the youngins needed to know to be successful. The youngins that paid attention were more successful than the ones that didn't. As we progress in technology, the knowledge is just sitting there. It's accessible to you if you want it, but there's so much knowledge on the World Wide Web that you have to do a specific search for the specific thing that you're interested in right now. And if you're not interested in anything right now because all you're doing is going to work and going back home, then you're not paying attention to none of the knowledge. So then you're in a position where things happen that you don't know about, and then you don't understand why life changes. Like if you wasn't looking for the bill being passed on July 4th, which is probably more important than the governor making racial comments about people not surviving a flood, you're not paying attention to the fact that your money is going to be different in a couple of months. Your benefits are going to be different in a couple of months. But like I wasn't paying attention to the news earlier today, it slipped right by me that somebody is making negative comments about disasters. But I also remember that I come from a state where they said that our state got flooded out because we were the Sodom and Gomorrah of the country. And then I look at Florida, California, New York, and I'm like, wait, y'all got way more corruption going on than what we had down south. We throw a hurricane party because, I mean, we can't go nowhere. Y'all, I don't know what to say. But moving on, the crown jewel of Uruguay's programs, which we're going to be talking about right now, we're going to be perfectly clear about it. When you become a tax resident of Uruguay under the special program, you can legally pay zero income tax on most of your foreign sourced income. So let's sink in for a moment. I want you to just think about and marinate on this thought for a moment, that once you become a tax paying citizen of Uruguay, there's a special program that allows you to legally pay zero income tax on most of your foreign sourced income. I'm trying to figure out, why would I become a tax paying resident if I don't even make money here? I feel like if I just got money being direct deposited into my account, you don't need to know about it. I should be able to get money from one of the, like Belarus, have me a non-residential trust in Belarus that wire transfers me money to Uruguay, and Uruguay just doesn't know about it. I just go to Europe. At best, I might have a stack of cash in a bank in Uruguay so that they give me my passport. That's about it. And then the rest of it is just like, you don't need to know where my money coming from. I'm good. I got it. But if you're a remote entrepreneur, a stock market investor, or a consultant with international clients, the money you make from those activities, the profits, dividends, and interest, is not taxed by Uruguay for a very long time. He said, I'm going to Vietnam. Cheaper to live. I want to go to Vietnam. They have one of those like marriage marketplace things, and not really caring about the whole marriage part. I'm sitting over here thinking about the fact that they advertise that there's a whole place where women are waiting to be selected. I'm like, I ain't never seen that before. Now, yeah, I seen the strip out here, but they're not waiting to be selected. They're selling something that don't nobody really want to pay for, which is different. So I was like, hold on. There are cultures where they're literally like, pick me, pick me, pick me. I want to see that. Even if they don't pick me, I want to see that. I'm like, hold on. So yeah, I wanted to go and see what Vietnam was like. I also wanted to go to Japan, Thailand, Taiwan, and the Philippines. So like a lot of places over near Asia. And I wanted to go to Korea, but once I realized that Korea is divided between the two, I was like, hold on, I got to go to South Korea specifically, because if I end up in North Korea, they might treat me in North Korea the way they treated us in 1955. So I might do better in South Korea. Now, one of the things that I've heard about is that Asians treat people with good tans like something to do. So there's less likelihood that you're going to go there as Chocolate Thunder and grab yourself one of these, Asian Vietnamese women. But, it is possible. It is possible because you're a novelty. So they might just hook up with you just to see if the rumors are true, if you hung like an elephant's trunk. And then after that, they might switch out on you because the cultural norms. There is a high level of racism, even though it is not widely felt by foreign nationals, because we're American first, and then we're racially divided second. But once you get used to the nation, you're not just an American. You're just, chocolate thunder. So there's that issue. So when you start having minority kids, the racism that you experience from your home country, your kid's going to experience there. So that's something that you got to think about. He said, you're like, good to be born in 1955. I wasn't born in 1955. I was born in 82. But the way they would treat people with a tan like mine in 1955 might be the same way I would get treated in North Korea in 2025. I know the eras when times was tough for certain folks. So, which is one of the reasons why I'm kind of off put by the behavior of a lot of the minority Americans, because the way we was getting treated not 75 years ago is the way some of us are treating the Mexicans that are being deported out of the country here in 2025. And I'm like, why are you repeating negative behavior? Because you thought, why can't we all get along when they was hitting you in the head with a brick when you was doing that Million Man March? And now you're sitting over here behaving the same way that they was behaving when they was letting go Rottweilers and spraying you with fire hoses because you was walking down the street. So I'm trying to figure out, like, when are we going to stop misbehaving and just let hard-working folks work hard? Shit. Now, he's asking me a really interesting question. Robert asks, have I ever thought about the Middle East? With all the Middle East countries that we've been talking about, really. Yeah, we thought about Middle East countries. He said, you were treated better than today. I lived through it. I don't think so. I know that having shotgun shoved in my mouth and, overly aggressive police officers that didn't know how to keep their billy clubs and their pistols away. I can tell you that social injustice has been a thing for a long period of time. And the only way that I could come out of that particular type of social injustice is not sit there and play the victim. I just had to move to a different part of the country that didn't have that type of behavior. And then when I got money, stop being broke, stop being in the hood, then come through a whole different walk of life. So, got to make changes. You can't just live in a society and complain about it. If you don't like the way the society is, you either put effort into changing the society, or if you can't change that society, you relocate to another society that you're more satisfied with. He said, everyone is treated the same in North Korea as a subservient property of the state, not the same. It isn't racism. It is dictatorship. Yeah, I know it's a dictatorship, but what you don't understand, Robert, is the way an American would be treated with the extreme hostility as soon as they get off the plane in North Korea is what I was referring to, the extreme hostility that folks was getting treated right after the First World War had wrapped itself up. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, it happened today. When you come into money, did you leave the hood? Yes. Soon as I was able to earn enough to be able to afford big houses, I was able to relocate to where big houses are sold. I had a gated community. Yeah, I mean, we got pools in the backyard. We got ponds behind the pool in the backyard. We got HOAs. I don't like HOAs, but we had HOAs. I'm talking about, like, everybody knew their neighbor. Like They had neighborhood watch kind of thing, you know. And I mean, we had kind of neighbors, neighbor come cut my grass, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy. Like, I like having that type of lifestyle, being able to peruse where I don't have a squad car circling the block looking for somebody that got lost, jumping 3 fences in my neighborhood kind of thing. HOAs are mini dictatorships. Did I move into a black neighborhood or a white one? Oh, well, I was the only one that looked like me in my neighborhood. So I moved into a neighborhood where people who had good money could live there. That's where I moved. So I had a couple of people that were from Colombia. There was a couple people from like other areas of Latin America, and then the rest were whites. I was the only one that looked like me in the whole neighborhood, and I loved it. I loved it. It was peaceful. You know, it had someone else like me moved into the neighborhood, I think that the property value probably would have went. Oh yeah, it's so much safer. It's so much safer. With, you know that you're not in a safe neighborhood when there's more bass than there is exhaust coming from the vehicle down the street. You know you're in a bad neighborhood when there's beer bottles all over the place and people standing around smoking cigarettes and ain't got nothing else to do but to heckle you as you walk down the street. So I gotta tell you, you're welcome. I gotta tell you. Gotta move. He said the property value. Yeah, he catching up with me. Yeah, I had to move somewhere else. I didn't like being out there. Did you move states or just neighborhoods? Good question. Well, I actually just moved neighborhoods in the states because Florida's pretty big. So I went from one side of the state to the other side of the state. I would like to go to the other areas of the country, but I haven't done that yet. So as it stands right now, you know, I just went really, really close to Sarasota because it is still close to where I work at, but it's far away from the riffraff. Now, granted, not hurricane friendly, but, you know, every house on the water has its problems. But I'm like, what, 10, 15 minutes away from Apollo Beach. So it's fucking fantastic. Like, you go out to Bear Can Island and, you know, go fishing, hang out on an island, like legit private island, 30-minute boat ride from the house, where the boat is like a 15-minute car ride from the house. It's insane. You say, come to Washington State. You're not that far away, right? Just a jump, skip, and a hop. 2 connector flights. How do you want, or what do you to make your money in to move from hood to other better locations? Oh, so you want to know like what I do to make that money? Well, I had a contract with a small business owner, and we were making what, 300 grand profits off of the business that I was running at the time. It's still there. I'm just not in the inner cities of Tampa running it anymore. And I used the extra money that I got off of that to relocate. Because I mean, when you start making $20,000 a week paychecks, like, you can kind of do whatever you want. So Oh, look at Michael. He says, remember to like and subscribe, y'all, as y'all pop into the channel. What industry? Well, we had a ride share. We had a transportation company alongside the real estate business. So the transportation company was making a shit ton of money on top of the real estate business. So I love that. And I love living off the residuals. One of the reasons why I told you that, when I changed from physically being in charge of an operation that occupied my time 10 to 18 hours a day, and I relocated my situation to now only working like 3 to 5 hours a day, and I'm still making the same amount of money I was making before, I actually have the comforting life that I wanted to have, but I also still have less hours at work, which gives me more time with family, which is one of the reasons why I'm able to spend a lot of time on a podcast, because I don't have to do as much work as I used to do. So still have work, still have clients. And a lot of my clients right now are in Asia, which is, I work on computer now, so I can work from wherever I have internet. So as long as my computer's alive, I'm good. And since I have, he said 500 doors. That's a good number. 500 doors. That's a really good number. That's a lot of money. 500 doors. Not too many people know what that means, but as soon as I seen it, I was like, "Ooh, that's pro status right there." You should be commercial with 500 doors. You should be doing like not just the apartment complex, like the apartment neighborhood where it's like 1,000 units across like 50 buildings on one plot of land, like some shit like that. That thing with 500 doors, you should be on that level right there. But you get a property manager to manage that. You're not sitting over there knocking on all them doors. He says, we're not giving away all the secrets on the show tonight. But what we've been talking about with Uruguay, this isn't a vague promise. It's written into the laws. So before 2022, they had this thing that they called a tax holiday, and it was for 5 years. And the government is in a clear move to become even more competitive and extending it, because a lot of the other countries, he said, shit, it isn't a secret. Shit. Oh, okay. Shit. Okay, so they're starting to be more competitive because some of the other countries that I did talk to you guys about before had that 10-year holiday on taxes. And officially, it's 10 years now. And that begins the calendar year after you become a tax resident. You said, why not Texas investment? But this will give you an efficient tax-free period of up to 11 years. So you're not a tax resident the first year you're there. And then the second year that you're there and you become the resident, you get tax-free for 10 more years. So that gives you 11 years of no taxes. You asked me, why not Texas investment? You can invest in Texas. I have no problem with investing in Texas. I would like to buy, it would be very interesting to buy me a large plot of land somewhere close to the Texas border of Mexico so that I could have my underground railroad. 1,000 pesos for the night. Oh, that's good. That's good. See, that's when you only have to make like one phone call to call the manager over all of the property managers so that you can find out what's going on with the money. So when you automate business, your money makes money for you even while you sleep. That's what I want for everybody that comes to the show, so that we're not just sitting there struggling all of the time. We want to be able to make money for us so that we can stop having to leave the house to go make $1. So how does this citizenship thing work with Uruguay? Well, Uruguay has what's known as a territorial tax system, which means it's generally only taxes income earned inside of its borders. But the real genius is how it treats new residents. Many territorial tax countries still hit you with taxes on foreign passive income like dividends and interest. Uruguay waives even that for new tax residents. So here's a simple example. Let's say you have a stock portfolio that pays you $50,000 in dividends each year. In most countries, you'd owe a big chunk of that in taxes. In Uruguay, for your first 10 years as a tax resident, your tax bill on that is that whole $50,000 is zero. And that money stays in your pocket, ready to be reinvested, compounded, and used to build your wealth. And it's important to know that this holiday specifically applies to income from movable capital like interest and dividends. Other foreign income like rental income from property abroad is already tax-free under Uruguay's standard territorial system. So if you're doing real estate properties like Michael's talking about right now, and you were getting income from that, they wouldn't tax you because that's from a different country's land. So if you're making money in the US and then you went to a place like Japan and you bought up a bunch of land because they only charge taxes on the land, then the value of the property is nothing after 30 years, you can rebuild them, turn them into a bunch of rental properties, and then go move to Uruguay and live tax-free. Oh, a district manager cut costs managing efficiently. There we go. What's up? Live off your interest, not your assets. That's a smart move. What about subscription businesses? Well, a subscription business is going to be somebody that's going to be paying you repetitively to utilize the service, which is equivalent to like rental properties, because you're making money off of monthly membership fees, but you're still providing a service. And wherever that service is being provided from, if it's not from Uruguay, it's tax-free. So what happens when the holiday is over? Well, you have a couple great options. First, your foreign dividends and interest will be taxed at a flat, low rate of 12%, which is lower than what we're getting from America. But there's an even better alternative because you can choose to skip the tax holiday from day one and instead opt for a permanent flat tax of just 7% on the same foreign dividends and interest income. And this option is for life. So for someone planning to make Uruguay their forever home, this gives you incredible long-term certainty with any tiny tax rate scenario that occurs. And the choice will be yours when you start deciding on whether or not you're going to stay there permanently. He said the interest is only good if the interest is consistent. And you're picking up what I'm putting down on subscriptions. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I know the internet bad today, but yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down on the subscriptions. Definitely. The idea is that whatever you're doing you're getting paid while you don't have to be there, because that gives you the more freedom, the most freedom that you need to get up and go find other ways to make more money, make money for you. You can't find better business deals when you're desperate. You can't find better business deals when you're preoccupied. So when you can free up your time and free up your stress and your frustrations, where you're no longer stressed out, you're no longer clouded in judgment, you can actually take extra time to figure out what you want to do in life. And then you can apply the right motivation where you are making intentional decisions, not going with the flow or flying by the wayside. You're not winging it. So it's better to have at least 80% of your income coming from somewhere else, so that you don't have to worry about where the money is coming from to cover the bills. If the bills are covered, if the financial status, like I had somebody call me today and ask me what was going on with the money, and I was letting them know, hey, we're paying for stuff in August right now in July. I don't have to worry about what's going on within the next 30 to 45 days because I'm already covering what's going on in August while I'm in July. So I'm not hurt. Now, if I ask myself, because like we did yesterday, we were doing the calculating the wealth. Do I have a large enough quantity of capital set aside to cover me for 2 to 5 years worth of unemployment? Probably not. But recognizing the information that I found yesterday, I was like, I got to stack my cash up a little bit more. We're going to have to get us some 2 to 4 years. And the best freedom, you're right, Michael, the best freedom that we have is time. The most valuable non-renewable resource in the world is your time. So it's vital to know when it comes to Uruguay, the difference between legal residency and the right to live in Uruguay and tax residency, which is what makes you subject to its tax system. The most common way to become a tax resident is by spending over 183 days a year in the country, which is a little over 6 months. But there are other paths like making a significant economic investment, which we'll touch on. And this flexibility is huge to become a tax citizen. He said, time is its freedom, and it is a commodity with a limited amount. Oh, it is not. Okay, I figured that part out. I don't mind sharing some of the pie as long as I get more time, since all time will stop. Can I buy land there? Yes, you can. There are some selective countries that prevent you from buying land unless you are a commercial business. There are countries that allows you to buy land there, especially if you are a resident, if you have established your residency and gotten your visas and stuff. I typically go places with an LLC or a C corporation in tow, so that when the purchase of the property occurs, it should be purchased under a business, because they do not have many restrictions on ownership of lands in most countries around the world. They have places like the Philippines where you have to have like a 50 to 75 year lease, which is the same as like a 30 or 40 year mortgage. But you can build whatever the hell you want on the land. That only matters if you like really want to will this property to a third generation. Even with a business in the Philippines, the native would have to be like 60% or more than 50% owner of the business. So if you wanted to own properties, you would have to like marry a native, because that's the only way that you could trust your business partner not to screw you. Marry a native and then make money for them, something like that. Yeah, LLC, limited liability company. That's correct. But that just because you have an LLC or a C, I have both an LLC and a C corporation. So what one isn't allowed to do, the other one will do. So internationally, you might take a C corporation with you, but there's a strong possibility you can also take an LLC out there with you. It's still going to be registered as a foreign domestic company when you register your American standard company with your with your whatever country you're going to country. It's still going to be a foreign domestic. But if you have a native that is primary ownership, then you can pick up lands in the Philippines. But other countries don't really do too much stopping you from grabbing their lands. We just don't have the money to get out there. But I tell y'all, real estate is one of the best things to get into around the world, because majority of the countries that I've covered so far have an incentive for you to develop in rural areas to cater to the at-risk community. So if you're doing buy and holds and you're picking up rental properties, and you're going to start expanding on certain neighborhoods, certain cities, certain areas that is in need of more residential property or is in need of more commercial property for restructuralizing the economy, the government will give you money towards the development. And you get to make a profit off of the boat on both ends. Is as how many U.S. Properties do you own? How many overseas properties do you own? Well, we're not talking about how many properties that we own. We're talking about how you can go somewhere else and pick them up. You said, like the Chinese buying land in the Midwest. Yes, exactly like that. Exactly like that. So a country can offer the world's best tax deal, but it's worthless if getting residency is a bureaucratic nightmare. Oh, you're asking me how many properties that I have. Well, we're going to go down that path that I told you guys before. That if you're having an LLCs and C corporations and you're holding businesses or you're holding trusts, you're supposed to be putting your properties under the ownership of the business that you own, or put it under the ownership of the trust that you own. And then you yourself technically owns nothing on paper that can be seized in any type of legal action because it's owned by another entity that is a standalone entity separate of you. And that's the most effective way to possess any of these things. But since you control the business, you control the asset. And if you control the asset, you still control the property. So the house that I'm in belongs to the business that I own. And then, every other property that belongs to the business that I own, as an employee of the business that I own, I can benefit from all of the resources that the business owns. So the company cars that the business owns, I can run those. The company phones that the business owns, I can run those. So it's beneficial. Look, Michael's telling the same thing. I own nothing. Own nothing. Control everything. Okay. And when we start talking about overseas, I've been telling you guys forever, since if you're coming from America going overseas, America taxes overseas incomes. So if you're making money in America and you're traveling overseas and you're creating debt overseas, you can take a bad deal in their country to them, and that be a promising deal for you because you're looking for a money pit to redevelop and turn into a rental property so that you can turn profits off of that property, which is offset by the debt covering the taxation from the United States. So say you have $1 million worth of assets being drawn in America. They might want to tax you on that mill, but you took $250,000 and you put that in developing properties overseas. If you develop the property overseas, the profits, from what I understand, between $150,000 to $250,000 is exempt from the U.S. from overseas. And the debt to build the property, buy it, renovate it, whatever, is a loss offsetting the profit, which means you're not paying that $250,000 worth of taxation because you just created $250,000 worth of debt. But now you've got rental properties in more than one company, in more than one country, which is why I tell you guys that real estate is one of the best ones to get into. He said, look, you're obviously educated and smart, but I'm asking what your portfolio looks like. You have international knowledge, but what is your investment landscape look like? My investment landscape looks like any business landscape where we spend money to offset the taxation of the profits that we make. One of the things I know you're trying to get the nitty gritty of the blue book portfolio of whatever I got going on, but I can tell you that one of the things that I tell people is that you're specifically, whatever it is that you actually have, you're talking about less than 30% of it. So you're gonna say don't dodge it. Look, What Michael said, I'm broke. I'm broke. That's basically the best way to answer that question. Is that anything happens, your personal assets are safe. That's right, because your personal assets are under the ownership of something that you trust. Wilbur, a good lawyer can pick that apart. You own something, just not directly. Well, you say that, but I can definitely tell you that no, he can't pick that apart, especially if the one that owns it is in a different country. He can only pick apart the ownership that you have in America that's owned by you in America. So, if you have a foreign trust that owns the property and the other countries are not doing business with America like that, you're not going to be able to go to another trust and pick apart the ownership of the trust. So no, you can't. There are people who can dig into American built, American owned, American operated businesses, but like I said, between businesses and trust, you have the property that could be owned by the business, and the business is owned by the trust, and the trust is owned by another trust, and one of those trusts is overseas. No, you can't pick that apart. I mean, the feds might be able to track it down if you're a felon or some shit, but day to day, like a lawyer trying to debunk some kind of, no, that's not happening. And Michael's still talking about taking a write-off when you sell it for maintenance. He knows what's going on, man. He's giving the whole detail. Is it not the nitty-gritty, just the general? Well, I can't. I could. I'm just not got an asset portfolio because I mean, it doesn't benefit me to tell you exactly how much wealth that I have access to. It benefits you to know that there are ways for you to increase in health. There's ways for you to increase and enhance your wealth in other countries. As I've said before, as I sit in this chair every day, that at some point I will be taking the podcast worldwide. When I take the podcast worldwide and you see me in other countries, then you'll just know he went to a different country. And while I maintain my stay in America while living in another country, you understand that the two standards of living have to be supported by a decent quantity of revenue. And that revenue has to come from somewhere. And it's all legal tender. That's the bulk of it. Unlike this isn't cribs for finance where I gotta pull up my bank statement and show you screenshots of my. Nah, that's not gonna happen. He said it can. Law is gray. I mean, yeah, the law is gray to the magnitude where if they know that you've got stuff, they can come and steal it from you, and then under the color of law try to mask the robbery. So yeah, but as far as legally picking apart your estate. And then the question is, why would they be picking apart your estate? Because typically the only time that somebody comes after your estate is when you've lost a lawsuit that you are liable for, divorce, or criminal activity. So excluding criminal activity, outside of divorce, you would have to lose a legal action where somebody has found your estate. And now they're trying to take that from under you, which is strange because if you have a primary estate that is in your name, most states around the United States have this homestead thing that protects the estate from, being seized in legal action. Doesn't stop liens from being put on your house, which screws up your ability to get loans and mortgages and stuff, but it does. And it'll jack your credit up and spiral you into the dirt. But it does put you in a position where some of your assets are exempt from seizure, depending on the situation, long as it's not crime related. So back to Uruguay, there's another area where Uruguay gets its rights. It has one of the most straightforward and logical residency processes out there, unlike many golden visa programs like the $5 million Go Visa with Donald Trump's face on it that demands that you invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, in order to get citizenship. Uruguay's main path to residency is based on simple idea: just prove you can support yourself. The most popular option is the Ratista visa, which is perfect for people with a stable reoccurring income. The main requirement is to show a monthly income of around $1,500 for a single person. That's it. This income can come from a pension, Social Security, dividends, or a remote job. The government just wants to see that you won't be a burden on the state. You don't have to be a millionaire. You just have to be self-sufficient. Can I write off? Okay, so you're asking me, can you write off freelance specialist? That's how Donald Trump itemized his in 2017. Freelance specialist. That's a 1099 form right there. And he paid $135,000 for his. I don't know where his wife was. He said, okay, Wilbur pushed that to an area I am not comfortable with. I'll see you another podcast. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, I don't mind, bro. Robert needed a reason to step out today. He's like, that's my time, y'all. But no, that's whenever you're trying to hopefully do the right thing, you have to look at the tax laws and see what applies. If you see what tax laws gives you what tax deductions, that gives you controlled spending, because you intentionally pay money. The short form, you pay money to avoid taxes legally. Tax blanket is what they call it. You're spending for the deduction, not for the sake of spending. And then if you're buying in bulk for whatever resource it is, you can benefit from the bulk purchase. So like office supplies, people need office supplies in their personal life too. But if you're buying bulk office supplies for the business, whatever you bought for the next year is tax written off at the end of this quarter. For quarter four, if you bought it before the end of quarter four. So you could buy the next 6 months worth of office supplies for your business just to prevent from having to pay that in taxation to the government. And you know that most people in most jobs go home with ink pens from the job, Sharpies, whatever. Sometimes paper, toilet paper, stuff like that. Humor is good, Michael. I like a good laugh as long as it's reasonably appropriate. Toilet paper, yeah, they be running off with the toilet paper. They be, the people be stealing from their jobs. Just whether it's accidental or intentional, people be stealing from their jobs. If you ever borrowed a pen and took it home from work and like, oh, I'm gonna bring this to work tomorrow. Now I got a pen to write with. You stole a pen from the job. People steal, So when them 5 different models of Tesla robots go into the work field and start taking over human jobs, and the company stops taking losses from the theft from the humans, you're going to see unemployment rates skyrocket. Next virus, I'm rich. Bro, the things that people bought that was stupid to buy, mounds of toilet paper, mounds of sanitizer, mounds of dish soap. I'm sitting over here thinking, why y'all ain't buying mounds of liquor so that y'all got something to cauterize the wounds with when y'all get shot at with one another? Why y'all didn't get mounds of ammunition so that you could protect your fortress? Why y'all didn't get like real stuff? They got thousands of gallons of water. Now they're trying to return that shit. Nah, put that shit in your basement, bro. You will need it. You will need it. Now, the process itself is refreshingly straightforward. So Uruguay allows you to enter the country as a tourist and apply for residency while you're already in the country, which is something that America doesn't like. Once you submit your application with the basic documents like your passport, background checks, proof of income, you're often granted a temporary ID card, which is called a cedula, fairly quickly. This allows you to start your life right away while your permanent application is processed, which usually takes about 6 to 18 months. So between 6 months and a year and a half. This means you can open a bank account, rent an apartment, get settled in without being stuck in legal limbo. For those with more capital, investor visa options do exist that can reduce the physical presence requirement to just 60 days a year. But for most people, the income-based path is so appealing because it doesn't require a huge upfront investment. It's a system built on common sense, which is running the theme of Uruguay. He said, I would have thought food. You know, I met so many people during the last hurricane in Florida that had 2 to 4 freezers of meat. And the asinine part of this is when you run out of electricity, you have no freezers. So the only way you can preserve the meat is if you take the only generator on the property and dedicate it to keeping the deep freezers frozen while the rest of the house has no fucking power. I think that's stupid. I think that you should have an overabundance of canned goods because those things don't go bad. Then, or at least none that I know of, then maybe a few dozen or a few hundred cases of water, especially if you've got the canned goods that have juices inside of the canned goods. Now you got food and water. We start talking about survival status right now. Canned goods, you don't need to heat them up, but you can. Canned goods, you can literally just cut the top off of the can and just set the fucking can on fire. And now you've got a plate of food with a fork. Look, you off the grid. I'm off the grid too, bro. That's why I'm sitting over here telling Robert. I'm like, man, nobody needs to know how much I got going on. Motherfucker right now trying to look up my money, can't even find me. Yo, they got some MREs that are off the chain, bro. I spent 3 months on MREs during one of the storms because hurricanes hit the South so much. And I could tell you, I was to take a couple of MREs and put it with some of the seafood that I had in the fridge before the fridge went dark. And I was able to put it on because we had the 2-eye burner that you use for camping. You can get them at Walmart that has a little one propane thingy that you screw onto the thing and the 2-eye burner. So I just took the MREs. You know, you do what you do with the MRE, and the MRE just like self cooks itself, right? Then I put the seafood in there, put it on top of the thing, and heat it up a little bit more, and then bam, I was eating gourmet MREs. It was looking at me like, where'd you get that from? Shoot, I read the label on the MRE. I ripped that pack open like this was mine. I ate all the best MREs first. Shoot, 3 weeks in, I was pissed off because all the ones I didn't want was last. Now, residency in Uruguay is what gets you in the door, but for many, the ultimate prize is the second passport, a powerful tool for global mobility and personal growth. Now, one of the things that I found is that, say, for example, when you're flying into Israel right now, you can't use the same passport that you flew into Israel with and use it to fly into Iran. You can't use the same passport that you use to fly into Iran and fly into Israel. If you had more than one passport, you could use the passport that doesn't piss off the other country and then use the other passport, because you can fly with more than one passport. You only got to give them one of your passports. See what I'm saying? Which helps you get around when you start traveling around the world. He said, and a splash of tobacco. We had weed, but tobacco good too. We had cannabis and Seagram's Jet. I promote Seagram's Jet, not because I got a contract with them, because it's good. Actually, the strongest alcohol on the market next to Banana 99. So here again, Uruguay offers top tier service where legal residency puts you on a clear, constitutionally protected path to citizenship. So the timeline is one of the fastest in the Americas. A single person can apply for citizenship after just 5 years of continuous residency, and if you're married, is flexible, generally allowing you to be out of the country for up to 6 months a year without resetting the clock. So the process isn't a rubber stamp, but it's fair. You'll need to show you're integrated into Uruguay and the Uruguayan lifestyle, having a home, maybe a local club membership, and providing the ability to prove to Uruguay that your center of life is with them. While there's no formal language exam, you'll be expected to speak a conversational Spanish. So the reward is, with learning that, one of the most respected travel documents in the world. As of 2025, the Uruguayan passport ranks highly, offering visa-free or visa on arrival access to over 150 countries, including the entire EU, Schengen area, the United Kingdom, and Russia. Yeah, I'm listening. I'll tell you, I give y'all some stuff now. In a landmark move that took effect in April of 2025, Uruguay reformed its passport issuance to eliminate discrimination against naturalized citizens. So new passports no longer list the holder's country of birth and use the destination URY for all citizens, granting neutralized citizens or naturalized citizens the same document and status as those born in the country. So to prevent from being discriminated against, they've changed the documentation so that the people who bought their citizenship versus the people who were born in the country and earned their citizenship have the same identical passport. You can't tell one from the other. This was a powerful statement about equality that solved a major problem where many naturalized citizens used to face, which interfered with their ability to travel. So how do you actually do it? The beauty of the Uruguayan system is that it's not overly complicated. Here's a practical step-by-step look at how to turn this opportunity into your reality. The journey starts simply by entering Uruguay. Citizens of many countries, including the US, Canada, and most of Europe, can enter as a tourist for up to 90 days. This gives you plenty of time to explore and start the residency process. Once you're on the ground, you formally apply, at the national director of migration in Montevideo. Most expats hire a local lawyer or facilitator to help them. Oh, you didn't know money has privileges? You can buy whatever. Trump not only bought an adult freelancer, but he also got his freedom right after that. He had more convictions than Diddy, never set a foot in jail, but for some reason, Diddy went from 30 plus 1 years down to 20 years. And Trump ain't missed a beat. Trump ain't even get his shoes dirty. So, yeah, money has its privileges. And with money having its privileges, you have many countries around the world that has different values for it, but you could just buy your citizenship. They call it investing in the country, but you're going to give the country a certain stack of cash. And as long as they maintain possession of that cash, you maintain possession of your visa. So those individuals that give America $5 million to get a citizenship, you're buying citizenship for $5 million, skipping a line. You got $5 million you can do to give away. Usually multimillionaires are not going to give you all of their money. So if they can give you $5 million, they must have $30 million on hand. Because otherwise, that would be a stupid give to get. As for Uruguay, the cost is reasonable, and they make sure all the paperwork is handled correctly if you're utilizing one of those local lawyers, which saves you time and tons of stress. After the first appointment, you're in the system and will soon get your temporary residency card, the key that unlocks your new life. It's almost close to key to the city. It's like welcome to America, but it's more like a welcome to the Americano. Because you're going to Latin America. You're not coming to you're going to Latin America. Because Uruguay, that's like South America. Now the paperwork is logical. You'll need the standard stuff to prove who you are, where you've been, and that you can support yourself. The core requirements is going to be a valid visa, which is the one that you use to get there, a legal birth certificate, and marriage certificate. If you plan on getting married out there or bringing your wife out there, you got to have some countries ask you for a document that proves that you do not have a wife in any other country, which I didn't know that existed. But yeah, they do that before they allow you to marry in their country, because if you marry somebody, that document, that marriage document, is respected around the world. And I was like, whoa, that's the closest thing to a Catholic church that I have ever seen in politics, that you can't get married in Spain and then get married in China, because China is going to say that you're married in Spain. So that not too many countries outside of like Dubai and other such areas that have that polygamous lifestyle where you can have like 42 wives. Most of those traditional monogamous, like one wife per husband kind of deals, they're not going to let you have more than one wife. So unless you change religions and join one of the Muslim religions that quantifies your ability to have more than one wife, and you got to have at least 4. That way you can spend 7 days with each one. Michael says 1995, if you apply in the next 15 minutes and have medical. But for $47.45, you could buy that Trump phone service, the T1, and you would be able to get the medical stuff on your phone bill. And it has roadside assistance. And it's supposed to be released in like 65 days. So you'd be able to get your Trump phone. It's $4.99 for the phone and $47.57 a month for the service, plus taxes and service fees. Now, The legal documents that you're supposed to get to help you get your passport are supposed to be apostilled in your home country before you leave. So you need to go ahead and grab those things before you take them with you when you fly to the other country. That way, when they ask for it, you can hand it to them. The criminal background check is also acquired from your country of origin and any other country you've lived in recently. So being able to prove that you're not currently a felon, I would do some squat like, 5-year background check. Say, hey, I haven't done anything wrong in the last 5 years. If you done something wrong 20 years ago, you ain't trying to do your whole childhood and stuff. You just want to show them that, hey, I haven't had any legal issues over the past decade. Leave it at that. Proof of income. This is key for the rentista visa. You'll need documents showing your reliable monthly income of at least $1,500, and this could be Social Security letters, pension statements, or proof of investment income. So you would have to show statements, bank statements, sources of where your money's coming from, something to that effect, for them to see that you're making this money on a consistent basis, for them to check that off the list. And then a local medical checkup and vaccination certificate, which you'll get once you're in Uruguay. So there's certain things that you don't want to have. He said, hold on, legalize abortion till the age of 18. Well, if once it's 18, you don't have to abort it, bro. But once it's born, you got to put it to work like Nike and Jordan does, Back to it, though. Back to it. Man, the internet has been sloppy today. All your foreign documents will also need to be translated into Spanish by an official translator. So with your temporary ID, you can function like the residents, and then you can open up your bank accounts and stuff like I told you before, which is highly recommended, so that you can do wire transfers into the country. Then you sign a long-term lease and get the local cell phone plans. And then the final approval for permanent residency usually takes between 6 to 8 months after that. And during this waiting period, you're free to live, work, and travel. The main thing is to show you're genuinely committed to making a life in the country. Once approved, you get your permanent residency card. Then to keep it, you just can't be absent from Uruguay for more than 3 consecutive years. It's a smooth transition, not a stressful ordeal. You just got to make sure that you pay attention to what you're doing. So if you're trying to travel the world, you're not trying to get citizenship in every country. Form DDT 123. Yeah, the passport information. You can fill out the passport information, get the passport book and the passport card. And if you have one that's already expired in America, your passport can still be turned in expired in exchange for an updated one, as long as you do it less than, I think, 12 or 15 years from the date that it expired. So knowing that these passports are good for like 10 years, inside of a decade of expiration of the passport or passport card, you can turn that card in to get in exchange for an updated passport book or passport card. So yeah, if you find the DDT forms, yeah. Now, financial incentives, that's another thing that we were going to be doing. Oh, all of it can be done online. And if you're not in a hurry, you can mail it to Florida, and then they'll mail it back from Homeland Security. You'll get it within 6 weeks, unless you pay for expediting. Then you'll get it within like 6 weeks. Just with an express shipping label on it. And then you'll have it for when you need it, which is awesome for a second form of identification. The financial incentives are great, but you move to a country to live, and this is where Uruguay's offer becomes truly irresistible. The quality of life here is exceptionally high, offering a rich existence that goes hand in hand with financial freedom, where Uruguay lets you enjoy a first world lifestyle at a more manageable price point. While it's considered the second most expensive country in Latin America, it offers great value compared to the US and Europe. A single person can live very comfortably for about $1,600 to $2,500 a month, and a couple for around $2,900 to $3,500 a month. And houses is the biggest expense, but is still reasonable. In Montevideo, a modern one-bedroom is a great neighborhood can be found for around $700 to $500 a month, and daily expenses are manageable, where groceries for a couple might run between $300 and $600 a month, especially if you shop at the fantastic local markets or ferries. Utilities, including high-speed internet, will likely cost between $100 and $200 a month, and this affordability means the money you save on taxes isn't eaten up by high living costs. Haha. I was covering it. You're asking me what's the average cost of living. I was covering it. The average cost of living is between $2,500 and $3,000 a month for the cost of living, because you've seen those apartments are $500 and $700. The world-class affordable healthcare system might be a single greatest lifestyle benefit, especially for retirees, where Uruguay's healthcare is both high quality and incredibly affordable. Most expats choose the famous Mutualista system, and these are private healthcare co-ops that you join for a low monthly fee, often between $70 and $200 per person. And this gives you full coverage for everything from doctor visits to hospital stays with minimal or no copays. And it's a level of care and financial peace of mind that's hard to find anywhere else. Unfortunately, while you might find some that do house calls, you're not likely to see a happy ending from the doctor. Asking for so much. Go to one of those maid cafes with a bad back and come out of it. But that's not in Uruguay. That's in Indonesia. Life in Uruguay is relaxed, though. While South America is a region that has seen a decline in peacefulness, Uruguay remains a stable and relatively safe country, where its high literacy rate of over 98% and stable political climate let you enjoy daily life without worry. So the culture is a unique mix of European sensibility and laid-back South American charm. Uruguayans are generally warm, hospitable, and family-oriented. The expat community is well established, but not so much big on that feel. You'll feel like you're in a bubble. So let me go back over that one more time. The expat community is well established, but not so big that you'll feel like you're in a bubble. It's easy to connect with other foreigners, but it's also common to integrate into local life, whether that's sharing in asado, which is a traditional barbecue, with Uruguayan friends, or sipping a mate in a park. It's a lifestyle built on simple pleasures and real human connections, which is something that we forgot about with everybody being online. So we've covered a lot. We've looked at the incredible 10-year tax holiday, simple paths to residency, and the safe, affordable, high-quality lifestyles that wait for you in the Switzerland of South America. But turning all this information into real plans takes careful thought. Everyone's situation is different, and your income and your family and your goals. Making an international move is a huge decision. because you're not going to be able to take a 4-bedroom house full of furniture with you unless you got it money like that. So you're probably going to have to liquidate your lifestyle in America and then take all of your cash and transport yourself over to Uruguay. And when you're doing this, you have to get it right. So if what you've heard today resonates with you and you feel the pull towards a life with more freedom and prosperity, then the next logical step is to get some personalized advice. So you can always get local advice that will help you navigate the exact kinds of opportunities that you can get from moving over to Uruguay. And you'll also be able to communicate with those people so that they can help you build a strategy that covers everything from tax planning and residency applications to finding a home and getting settled in. So if you took to a book and you got to a one-on-one strategy call, you would be able to go over to Uruguay and have a specific situation that is laid out clear for you, where actionable blueprints would aid you in your ability to be successful. Let's see. One of the things that I noticed about Uruguay is that Uruguay also has a family-oriented community where you would be finding yourselves one of those more traditional wives and families. Being a safe neighborhood, you would be able to find yourself having an ease to raise children, but you're not seeing in Uruguay the incentives that you've seen in Asia, because while the population control problem in Asia has not yet been brought under control, Asia is paying for the cost of the standard of living of the children, where Uruguay is not going to be paying for that. So you have to think about that in consideration, which is one of the reasons why Uruguay is a lot more expensive in its standard of living than some of the areas in Asia, because while the standard of living in Asia is less than $1,000, and then the cost of the children is $500 a kid that they're going to pay for per month until the children are 18, you're likely to be more successful in different countries other than Uruguay. But Uruguay is always a good place to go because it gives you an opportunity to check something else out. And since you step into the culture on a 90-day visa, you can decide if it's the place for you, or you can go to another country. But it's almost impossible to be anywhere else in the world right now, at least, because Uruguay is a country that has decided to align its interests with those of global citizens looking for a better life. So Uruguay has combined powerful financial incentives with a rock solid foundation of stability, safety, and an amazing quality of. The tax holiday isn't just a holiday. It's a perk. It's a decade-long financial boost. The simple residency process isn't just convenient. It's a clear signal that they value productive people, not just their bank accounts. And the path to a top-tier passport isn't just a benefit. It's your key to true global freedom. So when you put all of it together, the numbers and the lifestyle, Uruguay is more than just a smart move for the right person. You could see that it's a total no-brainer. So I'd love to hear from you guys. He said, oh yeah, he covered that. How much can I bring into the country? You can bring whatever you want into the country. You have to understand, though, some countries require you to be a native in order to get a bank there. Asia isn't one of those countries, but Uruguay might be one of those countries. You bring a briefcase full of cash into Uruguay. I mean, it's not so much if you can enter the country with it. It's if you can get out of America with it without being robbed by the feds, because they're good at stealing your money and then tagging it as drug trafficking money so that you can fight in court for up to a decade to get your stolen money back. One of the things I tell people, if you're taking money with you, you're not taking cash. You're going to put the effort into getting yourself a cashier's check. That way you can fold that piece of paper up and stick it in your fucking sock at the bottom of your damn shoe. fly your ass out there to that country. Then when you go to the bank, you go to the bathroom, you take the money out of your sock, you go to the register, you cash the check and drop it into the bank account. They're not fucking with you now. They're not fucking with you now. So if you want to take a stack of cash with you, you can get out there and you can go get it done. But in my expectation, it's not about taking a stack of cash. It's about getting out there without getting got. Debit cards are good too. If you're going out there to that country, the first thing you have to do is contact your current bank. Let them know what country you're going to and when you're planning on leaving, so that they know that from this date going forward, that they can look forward to seeing transactions being done in a specific country overseas that's not normal spending habits. You would do better if you're going to use a debit card method you can establish up to 8,000 different financial institutions in America. Over 4,000 of them are credit unions, and the rest of them are banks. And the thing is that you can find a bank, an international bank that banks in Uruguay. Start up that bank. Even if you start up an online bank in America, wire transfer your money to your international bank and then go to Uruguay and pull the money out. And then you don't even need to take the fucking debit card. You just need to show the information that you're a member of the bank. Because they got places like Wells Fargo and Chase and I think there's at least 3 different international banks, and I can't remember the third one, but I know that Capital One. So Capital One, Chase, and Wells Fargo, if I remember correctly, are in a lot of the countries, like the Philippines and other such. So if you got you a Chase bank here in America or a Capital One bank in America or something like that, then you flew over to that country. You just have to withdraw the money out of the bank when you get there. That way you're not getting robbed by you're not being robbed by the feds. Because if you got more than $10,000, you're going to get robbed by local police. And if you make it to the airport, you can get robbed by TSA. And if you don't get robbed by TSA, you get robbed by the feds on the plane. Somebody going to steal your money because they know you got it. So you just get your cashier's check. They can't come get you. So, like I was saying before, I'd love to hear from you guys what you guys think about Uruguay. What parts of Uruguay's offer is the most surprising to you? Is it the tax holiday, the low cost of living, or the straightforward path to getting a great passport? I want you guys to let me know what y'all think in the comments section. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for the upcoming shows, because we got them scheduled all the way through Saturday. Be sure that you don't miss out on the next deep dive that we're going to be doing related to some of the world's best opportunities for freer and more prosperous lifestyles. Note that we have Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays that's being set up right now. Thursday and Friday is already up there, so you can hit that like button and be ready for tomorrow's show. He's saying good night, always educational. Remember to like and subscribe. Definitely. On my way out, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And then fellas, I really appreciate y'all for coming to the show. Special shout out to Michael and Robert for today. Usman, Bayside, Mr. Saladite. I really thank you guys for coming to the show and showing the support. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night. He said, it's the women is the good reason to go. He called me right before I walked off the show. It's the women is a good reason to go. Well, the women in Uruguay, the women in most cultures that are not about the Western way of life, those women are less overly aggressive. So you'll find the loving and loyal women in those other countries, and that is a good reason to go to those other countries for men that are looking for the right woman to aid them in their success. But I can be real with you right now. Depending on which country you go to, you might experience the same thing that you're experiencing in America. The top 5 countries that have traditional family-oriented women, we're not talking about servitude We're talking about women that'll respect you, not curse you out and slap you in the back of the head kind of thing. The top 5 countries are in Asia. So, but as time moves on, the modernization of progressive women is starting to trickle over, and women in Middle Eastern of the world is starting to become westernized. And that means, especially inner city, they're going to be spoiled, social media chats, extra long fingernails, hair glued on their heads, all of the things that you wish that American women didn't do. You will start seeing that in women that are not even in America. And you're going to be like, damn, I could have got this back in the United States. So that's when you got to go deep into the sticks. Go find some farmland out there where it's one house and like 1,000 acres of land. Go knock on the door and see if there's any daughters that live in that household that are over the age of 18 and 25. Go through the fields and see the women that are working in the fields and ask them, like, are you at least 22? And see what's up. But again, yes, thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.